Hey, good morning, and welcome to the first edition of Empowerment Through Encouragement. And I'm your host, Stanley Dietrich, and I have here my co-host, and she is going to be my regular guest on this podcast. And this is Mindy. I'm going to let Mindy tell you a little bit about who she is, and then we're going to dive right into this topic about ADD and ADHD.
All right. Thank you, Stan. I'm Dr. Mindy Njimo, and I have founded Homeschool Moms Academy. And we work with homeschool moms with curriculum, trying to help them find an easy way to facilitate their curriculum, as well as providing encouragement for them. You know, homeschooling's not easy. Schooling your child, having children's not easy. So how do we actually make that easier for moms, encourage them with our own personal stories of how things went right or didn't go so right? Sometimes just the best way to learn is from others or through failure, right?
Yeah.
So we're just here to do that today. And I'm super excited to talk about the topic of ADD, ADHD. I have so many moms who think their children are exactly that. And I had one who they told me should be diagnosed. So Stan, if you want to start out with your story, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I have. When I introduce myself to people and I go and I talk to kids at schools or whatnot, what I do is I tell people I have one superpower, and it is ADD. And so I do not sit still very. And so when I share that, I kind of demystify this prim and proper and just be sitting still. I tried to stand on the podium for a speech and talking, and I was fidgety. So yeah, I felt better when I walked back and forth. That's my zone. So sitting here doing this, if I move a little bit too much, just bear with me because that's just who I am. And I want to give you the permission to give yourself permission to appreciate the differences and the strengths that are seen differently. Give yourself permission to celebrate that and to acknowledge it and just embrace it. That's really the key. I've had ADD all my life. I've never taken medication for it. I grew up in a very, very poor family. I tell people that the home that I grew up in, the termites had to hold hands just so that the walls wouldn't fall over. Okay. And that was before we moved into the house my mom bought. But we lived there for several years. And growing up in that environment, we didn't have the capacity to buy medication. And thank God that we didn't, because it allowed me to express my unique strengths. And for some people, it was kind of annoying because they didn't understand it. I didn't fall in the quote unquote normal protocol. But let me ask you a question. And I want you to think about this, and you can put this in the chat. And if you're watching this on YouTube later, I want you to put it in the comments because you're not alone. But we have these things called standardized tests at school, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, this is coming from an ADD perspective. If there are no standardized humans, how does a standardized test tell us if we're standard or if we're not standard? Okay. So this is the idea. And it took me a lot of years to process my strength because I saw myself as different, but other people saw me as different. And there were negative sides and there were positive sides. I'll tell you a positive side for the first. I was in the second grade, and Mr. Wrigley, who's probably no longer with us, saw my energy.
Yeah.
And in the second grade, he bought me a 2-year membership to the YMCA. And he said, enroll him in everything.
Awesome.
Okay? This kid has so much energy. We need to channel it rather than suppress it, rather than to box it up, rather than to standardize and label them.
Yeah.
Let's channel this. Okay.
Yeah.
How do we have the Hoover Dam? We channeled that water energy. And guess what? We got a lot of power from that. It's
Yeah.
the same way that I want to encourage moms with a child that has either been diagnosed or that they have ADD, and
Yeah.
know that the things that we incorporate with them are much different than the standardized normal child. There's no normal, okay? There's just not no normal, all
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, so that gift to me set my life on a trajectory, and I'll always remember that man for what he did. He made an impact on my life, and it was it was priceless.
Yeah.
So what else can we do for others and appreciate their superpowers, their strengths, their giftings,
Yeah.
and not label them or make them feel labeled that they're different? And I don't know what the word is that I want to use, but just appreciate their uniqueness,
Yeah.
and not take it as a defect.
Right.
It's a special.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one thing about that is not putting that shame on a child. When
That
you label that child, you're putting shame and inadequacy and I'll never live up and I'm not as good as. But that's really not how God has designed us. He's designed us perfectly with the intention to succeed in the way that you need to succeed. So my husband is also ADD, had it his whole life, never was diagnosed and never did medication. When he's an adult, he's like, maybe I need medication. But I think you've hit on something here that's so powerful for parents, and that is channeling that. So channeling that energy, because you know what? It works as a strength. So even right now, as a couple, his strength carries us in situations where I just don't have the energy because, like you said, it comes with a lot of energy. Well, at the end of the day, when I am tired and I can't cook or I can't do this or whatever, he's there to continue to carry the load. So realizing that there's strength there and then how to utilize that is like so important for moms to understand without labeling, but realizing that the superpower their child has will help them fulfill their destiny. Now, he's a small business owner and he does very well, very successful, but he had to navigate a very difficult path. They actually held him back a year because of the energy, because of the distractedness, so to speak. So the typical school environment was not the best for that. So I applaud homeschool moms because you have the right environment to facilitate and grow this strength in so many areas. So tell us a little bit about your home. Like how did your mom handle it, and like what was that path? Journey. It's not a day. It's not like I'm going to handle this for a day. It's
right.
like every day.
My
So
mom did not understand me. Okay. And my mom was raised, and she grew up in Cairo, Egypt, and children in Cairo, Egypt are seen and not heard. So I grew up with a woman that was 4'9", and she could have taken on Mike Tyson. Okay. And, and, you know, I can attest that you cannot beat ADD out of a child. You just cannot do that. Okay. And she tried. Um, but the thing of it was that I began to appreciate who I was that was different than other people. I had visions that were different. I saw things that were different, and my mom didn't understand me. And so I channeled that in different athletics. I did almost every sport that I could. I didn't play football. I was really too little. I mean, remember, my mom was 4'9", and I thought she was a giant. Okay. And so football was not my sport, but I played a lot of the individual sports. I wrestled, I played racquetball, I swam, I was a diver, I was a gymnast, and those are the things that I excelled in, and I appreciated those strengths. And I also understood that I learned differently. And what I want to encourage is that we don't, and we should not, and here's the should word, okay? but this is in a positive manner. We should not compare ourselves with other people where they are based on where we are, and we don't know the journey that they've taken to get there. And we should not also compare ourselves and say that I don't have their strength because I have my own unique strength. So I want to be a great original rather than a sloppy imitation and an imposter. And this is where I think a lot of that judgment comes in, because some of the things that we judge ourselves based on is, let's just say, the grade system. Now, I know we have to have a grade system based on, where to give kids kind of an idea, but it should not judge their identity as much as it does. And a lot of the questions begin with, how come I'm not smart enough?
Yeah.
Rather than, how am I smart and how can I channel that?
Yeah.
So when we get to feeling like our child isn't smart enough, what are we basing that on? The grade system, the A through F system? I remember I got a D plus and I celebrated. Okay. Hey, I made it out of the D's, right? I got a D plus. It was almost a C minus. And I remember that. And the thing of it is, I didn't know enough to let other people suppress it. Maybe because I was just so hyperactive.
Yeah.
And, I took that as I was able to do things that other people couldn't do because of my energy level.
That's right. That's
And
exactly.
when I'm able to think on my feet, I would wake up in the middle of the night and I would have a different vision of how I was going to achieve something or accomplish something or execute something on a job. And as I began to appreciate that, then I understood a little bit more about me. Now, when I got married, then when we were having kids, I said I did not want to have lethargic children. I wanted hyperactive children. Okay? And God answered my prayer and I got a hyperactive child. Okay.
All right.
And the thing of it is that I appreciate both of their values.
Yeah.
Then I also appreciate their learning styles are different. Now,
Yes.
the teachers, my son wasn't doing so hot in school, and we did not put him on medication until he was in high school. And because I'm not a medication person, okay,
Yeah.
I'm not a pharmaceutical driven person, and I just thought, I never had medicine. We can manage this. Now, one of his learning abilities, one of his styles of learning was, we put him on a skateboard or on a bike and did some math numbers with him, and he could recite them. And it was like, how does he learn differently?
Yeah.
I want to say he was in the 3rd grade and he wrote this book. And now he was into skateboarding. Now my son could watch somebody do something and he could go and duplicate it. It's like he was out skating his friends that had been skating for a long time. He was out biking them. He was out swimming them, out diving them, all these things he was doing, and he didn't really have to practice. And that was one of the downfalls of ADD and his gift. But that's another story. But the idea of it is that he wrote this story about him meeting Tony Hawk. It was a fiction story. It wasn't true. He didn't meet Tony Hawk, but he created this.
Right.
And then he got to read this in front of the entire class, okay, the entire 3rd grade. And it was amazing, the work that he did and his creative mind. It wasn't, how was he smart compared to what the standardized teaching is?
Yeah.
How was he, how smart was he in his own world? And it was amazing. It was, his imagination was expansive. His creativity was unique. And this is what I want to encourage homeschool mom is, maybe there's a different style of teaching the same material that really, it's frustrating because you've never seen it done, but maybe that's how God's going to use you.
Yeah.
He's going to do something so unique that only you are going to experience this. You're the pioneer of this for other people. And the more that you demystify it and destigmatize it and get with other moms and go, oh my gosh, you put Johnny in the tub and you did his math
Yeah.
scores with him and he can remember. All right.
Yeah.
How can we incorporate that? You know, at the end of the day, a lot of the stuff that I learned in school, I don't remember. It
Yeah.
hasn't made me or broken me.
Yeah.
Things that I found that are important are the things that I'm going to take that are going to impact and empower other people as well as myself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that. I love how you said skateboarding, he could learn his math facts. And I think that's true. I saw a chart not too long ago that said, here's how the times of homeschool moms should be. Like maybe 30 minutes to an hour of actual sit down structure time. But then, you know what? You can go to the garden and learn more math and calculations in your head than you ever could sitting there on the paper. So finding those hands-on activities that teaches at the same time is huge for this superpower. So that is an incredible example of how that takes place. And like you said, the more that they're acting, interacting, you know, the brain is just going at that point. And so getting that information in there is so easy. So building a curriculum style based on that is perfect. And then also just, I know we just have a few minutes left. We have so much to talk about with this particular subject, so we'll revisit it. But I did want to talk about like the energy level of moms. I've seen some moms who are very introverted and very low key having to raise children with ADD. So how do we help them with the energy level to be able to handle, you know, to not to handle, but to really show the right path, or to not help them navigate their daily routine? What do you, just real quick, we got a couple minutes left. What do you think, just real short, and then we'll bring a lot back for the next time.
Yeah, definitely. This subject and this topic right here is a great deal. But the one thing that I want to share is that put the mask on yourself first.
Yeah.
Okay. So find a space where you can get re-energized.
Yeah. And when he
grounded.
says put the mask on yourself first, that means like from the airplane. When the
Yeah.
stewardess says,
Yeah.
hey, you grab the mask first
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
get your own oxygen before you deliver it to your child. That's what we're talking
The
about.
oxygen mask, not the other mask. Okay. So put the oxygen mask on yourself. And what I mean by that is create a space, if you can, if it's possible. If it's not possible, find somebody that can join you on the journey.
Yeah.
And encourage you and help you navigate that. And because it is a navigation, it's a journey. It's a voyage more than it is a journey, because a voyage is quite longer than a journey. And you know, it's a continual process. And know that the specialties of your child, they didn't get it by themselves.
Yeah.
So one of the parents has ADD.
Yeah, it is somewhere it is, right?
Yeah. They didn't just pull it out of space and decide that they wanted to wreck your world.
Yeah.
One of the parents has ADD. All right.
Yeah.
I know that we think that, you know, my mom would tell me that, you know, you children are making me crazy. Well, where do you think we got it from? Okay. So, and then she would say, from your father. And I was like, okay.
I don't know.
Anyway, but you know, rather than look for something to blame, look for something to celebrate. And the time is going to go by very quickly, even though it seems like a long time. But if it is possible to find a space, you know, the old commercials, the Calagon, the mom would be locked in the bathroom and she would be having a Calagon moment, right? And I don't think that's probably great chemicals in there anyway, but find that space where you can regenerate and then rechannel the energy that child has. And rather than fight it, kind of go along with it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a surface answer because it's so deep of a
Yeah.
question.
I'll tell you how I did it. I would take my kids like to the park or to a jumping zone. They're getting their energy out. I'm like taking a breath and breathing. Yeah. When we both left, we're both in a good place because I rejuvenated and they got their energy out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, finding that place so important. This was a fantastic conversation today.
Yeah.
I know we only got to point number 1. So I really encourage you to stick with us. We've got lots of learning strategy styles, information. How do we do this better? Just more information. You know, there's 7 different types of ADD. So we want to talk about those and then just bring out the points and maybe how to help you navigate that with your child.
Most definitely. Most definitely. Yes. And please come back because there is so much here and it's taking small, simple steps that make the big difference. We don't want you jumping off the cliff. We want you taking just that one step, celebrating it, enjoying it, and then having the strength to take that next step. So come back and join us again. And I look forward to more episodes in the near future.
That's right.
All right, everybody. Thank you. Have a fantastic day.